little tidbit about what you're going to see today is almost all the graphics that you're going to see today were created with AI. And the data warehouse that gets used in the file that you're going to see was created entirely with AI because I didn't want to use AdventureWorks. So I used, ChatGPT that you really couldn't use Copilot when I made it a few months ago. But yeah, it just created a whole bunch of random scripts and we made a data warehouse in Fabric.
Perfect. All right, well, let's kick it off. I'm gonna say, so anyway, I'm Michael Wall, and I'm one of the co-presidents of the Oregon Data Community, and we have Jessica, who's half in the screen right there, waving, who's the other co-president, and then we have her husband, Will, who I believe is our new treasurer, and then we have Paul Turley, who's our expert at large. I'm not sure what you want to, if you want to have a title or not, Paul.
I'm a co-lead.
A co-lead. Paul
Yeah.
Paul has sacrificed many years of his life to keep this group going, and so he is allowed to take it a little bit easier, even though he hasn't stopped at all.
Yeah. I want to brag about what I'm doing next week, though.
Sure.
Which is very much related to the community. So, but once a year, at least once a year, I try to get out into the data community and kind of use it as a way to travel and see the world. And so I was invited to present a pre-conference, full day pre-con event the day before the Austria Data Day, which is their version of SQL Saturday, but they're doing it on a Friday. So it's going to be not this week, but next Friday, the 26th, in Vienna. And so I was invited to do a pre-conference. And so I reached out to my friend Oliver Ingalls in Frankfurt. And he said, well, our user group meets the Tuesday before that. So why don't you come and speak at our user group? And so I'm going to give a presentation about Fabric and Power BI with a lot of data. And anyway, so it's kind of given us an excuse to fly to Germany, to drive across Germany through Bavaria and Salzburg down into Vienna, and then participate in a data event down there. So it's a business trip and a tax write-off. So just so you know how that works. So anyway, that'll be fun. That's my big annual event.
I think you'll have a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Paul went on. He was on the speaker on the Power BI's cruise last year. He got to see all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, in Denmark and Norway. It was awesome.
Yeah, that would be fun.
So I'm trying to think. Will, Jess, do you two have anything you'd like to chime in on?
I want to thank our sponsor again, Omnidata, for sponsoring our group. We couldn't put on a monthly meeting without them, quite the way we do. We appreciate, of course, all support that we get from our sponsors, including Omnidata, which is again our monthly sponsor. And since we have Robin here, I'll give her a moment to talk about what Omnidata does and if there are any job opportunities available.
So yeah, speaking separately as the person speaking today, which is not related. These people have had to listen to me speak for years now, especially Jessica. Omnidata is we're a consulting firm. We're located here in Portland, Oregon. We are completely Microsoft based. We focus on Azure, Fabric. We're getting very heavily into Fabric now. We have, in addition to our regular general consulting, we have a healthcare consulting arm, which is very busy, and we do our own product, which is called Omni Analytics. And it also has a BC, which is Business Central, just for those people that don't know what that is, component we have, and we're doing that one entirely. We're starting to do it entirely in Fabric, which is very exciting with Direct Lake. And the Omni Analytics is D365, so you're all probably very familiar with that. but we're developing, we have a product already, but we're constantly upgrading it, improving it, and turning it into something that you can't just get from, off the shelf anywhere. And we are a great place to work for. I've been super happy since I moved over. The Tobias is our mentor and boss in one, and he's a wonderful person. And I guess that's probably all I'll say right now. I think that because it's the beginning of January, we're not hiring right now, but I know we've got a lot coming up very, very soon. So I will probably have more to say about that next meeting, and maybe get some people interested, because it's, again, a wonderful company to work for and is local, but you're still remote. So with that said, I will switch hats and turn into presenter person.
Well, hang on, just a minute. While we're talking about jobs, so I just want to say, so first, just are there people, because I've been seeing not so good news on Twitter and such like that. So are there people out there in the audience who are looking for jobs? Okay, so if you're looking for jobs, please put your information in the chat. And we're not directly working with, last year, our major sponsor was a recruiting company, but I know other recruiters. So please put your contact information in the chat, and I'll be sure to at least forward it to those recruiters and talk to them and see what they have to say.
And what type of role you're looking to
Exactly, yeah.
move into.
Right, and I should just say, we are going to be hiring for several different things soon. I just don't know what they are off the top of my head. So if you want to, I will look at what's in chat as well and keep those names. If you just might want to put what it is you do, so I know when I see that come open, I can say, hey, we need to reach out to XYZ.
There seems to be on Twitter, it seems to me if you put, LinkedIn, of course, LinkedIn, you should always put your information on LinkedIn if you're looking for a job, but it seems like Twitter's fairly successful. If you put a tweet out there, it seems like you'll get some traction, and then people will start tossing out ideas and things like that too. So it's more important than ever to have your network going. So keep on looking. It's, we're, a lot of us are only one paycheck away from being outside. So it's just, you just got to keep your options open. Anyway, on that cheery note, and so Robin,
and with that sense of doom impending, I will start talking about.
It's time for Robin.
So
and also, everyone, please mute your camera, mute your microphones, and I'm going to turn off my camera, especially while she's presenting.
Okay. So today we're going to be talking about visual storytelling for financial reporting in Power BI. I want to make it really clear before I start this, we're not just talking about finance reports, we're talking about financial reporting, which can be in a lot of different kinds of reports. About me, I lead the Power Platform team at Omnidata that includes Power Platform developers as well as Power BI developers. I served on the board of directors for PASS from 2001 through 2002. I was, along with Paul, a fast track recognized architect in Power BI for all 3 years the program existed. It vanished as of a few days ago. I'm a little bit fanatical about dynamic, useful reporting. And the data for the report we'll be using today, which is in a Fabric data warehouse, as well as the graphics used, were all generated with AI, including the silly walk with the chart, which is on this page, which I created for something else, but I like reusing it. Visual storytelling. Humans are wired for visual information. Visuals help with decision-making in ways that flat old numbers just can't. They can simplify complex data, and great visuals enable organizations to discover strengths, weaknesses, and to create action plans quickly. It's the process of learning through visual aids such as graphs, charts, and diagrams. They help to simplify complex information and make it easier to understand. And visual learning, this is probably the most important part, can improve memory retention and recall. When you see a great chart, when you see numbers in a KPI that mean something, you're going to remember that. It's not like looking at a bunch of numbers on an Excel spreadsheet and trying to understand. You can understand what's there, especially if you've been doing it for years. but this is a way to instantly see what's there, what you need to learn, and how to start attacking it. And good data visualization is just critical for effective visual learning. Why is it so important? Well, it's the process of interpreting visual information. Humans are better at processing visual information than they are with textual information. Again, if you see something in a chart, you can instantly understand what it means. I'm a little bit embarrassed that there's a pie chart on this visual that I made with AI. Sorry about that. But data visualization uses the principles of visual perception to present information in a way that's easy to understand, and it helps the user to interpret and draw insights more quickly than you can from just looking at numbers on a page. And poorly designed Power BI reports are just visual word salads. Things to look out for: cluttered visuals with too much information crammed right in. Inconsistent color schemes and fonts. It's really hard to look at something that's different all over the place. Unless you're purposely doing it for shock value to show something is different, you really want to be very consistent with everything that you do in a report, even from page to page as far as that goes. A lack of a clear narrative, making it difficult to understand. It may be hard to understand how a report could have a narrative, but they do. If you're talking a sales report, your narrative is telling the story of how you're doing in sales this year or last year or this year versus last year. There's a story there that tells what your organization is doing, where your weaknesses are, where your strengths are, and what you need to do to compensate. Graphs not labeled correctly or missing context, I don't even need to comment on that, but it's very common. Poorly designed reports, they just don't allow the user to think they're actionable data, but instead they force them to spend time deciphering what their data is. Visual perception is impaired by poorly or over-designed reports. So you want to use Power BI to tell a story. You want to choose the right visualizations. You want to use consistent colors and fonts and create a clear narrative. I know I'm repeating a few of the same things over and over again because they're just so key to be successful as a report writer of any kind, really, not even just Power BI. Tableau, Excel, whatever you're doing, these are key. And if you're going to engage users with dynamic visualizations, that's when it gets fun. Dynamic visualizations capture the attention of your users. Interactive elements motivate users to engage with the data. When you have an interactive element in a report, they can start playing with it. And that's how you really learn the data, is when you can dig into it yourself, even as someone who doesn't understand how data works. You can understand what the data is, especially if I'm someone who knows what the numbers mean to me, but I don't know how it all goes together. Much easier with a great interactive visualization than looking at, again, a spreadsheet. Interactions between visuals allow users to explore their data and understand it in a cohesive manner and tell their own stories by choosing what matters to them. You can skip what doesn't matter to you, find things that do matter to you. And that's, again, one of the reasons you have to understand your users when you're building a report. If you can put all the most beautiful visualizations in the world in a report, but if they don't matter to the audience that's going to be using that report, it'll never get even opened. So best practices, pretty simple. Keep it simple. Use visuals to emphasize your key points. And by key points, I'm not saying things you want to highlight as this is the story I want to tell. There's points in the data that are popping out, things that everyone's going to want to see. You're not trying to influence them or just try and skew the data in any way. You're trying to let the data itself shine. And that's sometimes a very hard thing to do. But it's really important to keep any, for the lack of a better word, personality of yours from coming out in the data that gets pressed on. Limiting distractions, it doesn't mean shying away from interactive reports. It means limiting what's displayed. If you're looking at a page and it's got a table on it or a matrix, and it's got 32 columns and maybe 100,000 rows, how much are you going to take away from that? But if you look at one with 4 columns, and you can look and see exactly what you need to see in that, the 4 things that are the most important to the people that are going to be using it, that becomes super useful. A CEO might only want to view KPIs and only dig into the ones that interest them, maybe because they're low or they're high. You might want to put arrows. There's some really cool things you can do these days. You can put a fireworks display in a visual card now. You can add graphics to almost anything in Power BI with the new visualizations that have been put out in the last few months. It's kind of amazing, but it's a lot of digging into to learn some of these techniques. And an accountant might want to learn an entire chart of accounts that they have visible on every page. But that doesn't mean you have to give them a whole bunch of noise. You just give them what they want and what they need. I'm not going to go through the 20 best practices that closely. Again, I will make this deck available probably on the Omnidata website, and I'll make sure that you guys get a link to it later, as well as to the file that I'm going to show. But I actually found most of these from the DataPine website. Is just a great list, and it's something to follow. A few things that are on here that are really important: to make sure you're telling a story, make sure your KPIs are relevant. No one wants to know things that they don't care about. Don't try to put everything on one page. That's a big mistake when people try to put everything on one page. What can be amazing is to put a little of everything on one page and draw everyone in so that they can say, oh, I want to look at that. I want to look at that. But you don't want to give it all up. It's too much to look at. You can't visually process that much. Your brain will not do it. So select the right type. Use the right type of charts. Use the right layout. Prioritize simplicity. Colors, don't go berserk. It can be really fun for certain instances, but for the main part, you want to be clean. You want things to make sense when you look at them, and the more you can focus in on the numbers and the charts being the color, the easier it is for people to look at. And I think the most important thing that I could tell anyone at any time about reporting: validate, validate, and then validate some more. The minute you put out data that is wrong or doesn't match what your users expect to see is the minute you lose them pretty much for good. You really have to make sure that every report you're giving is absolutely correct. Even if it's not what they're used to seeing, then you have to be ready to explain to them why it's correct and how it's correct. So a few effective visual reports. You're going to have sales performance reports. You're going to have marketing campaign analysis reports, financial reports. Nothing special there, you're used to it. What makes an effective sales performance report? Simple, clear, concise. Good use of color to highlight important things. Latest data. No one wants to see an old sales report. Plus easy comparisons with prior periods. Especially, I find in sales reports, it's especially important to sales managers, salespeople, executives, to be able to see how they're doing compared to a period in another year or earlier in the year, or even if they're an organization that's might be a retail store or something like that, they may have periods where they're running sales, and they're going to want to always be able to compare those. You just need the right balance between details and high-level information. Marketing campaigns, again, clear data visualizations, metrics that align with the business, comparisons to industry benchmarks and past campaigns if you can get them, frequent data updates to enable timely decision-making. Once a month is probably not going to be enough for a marketing team. Once a week might not be enough. They might be making decisions every single day. And interactive elements, again, for deeper exploration and analysis. Marketing people tend to be very creative. They want to dig in. Financial statement reports. You really need to understand who the audience is for these. If it's accountants, you're going to want to be probably a little bit more numbers than pretty things organized. Choose the right visualizations to convey your message. Again, keep it simple, consistent. Some interactive elements, but you want to make sure that they're just digging down into the data for people. You're not trying to show who did the best this month. You're trying to show how things are going. If your accountants have a specific way they're used to looking at things, that they always look at their Excel in that way, find out what it is and create either a table that you can use for sorting or some kind of template file, but make sure that you don't disrupt their thought process by changing how they look at data, because they're just going to go right back to whatever they were looking at before if you don't.
So how would you start that conversation, Robin?
Well, anytime you're doing any kind of reporting, and I think anyone who's studied like Kimball methodology, the first thing you got to do, and I guess bringing up Kimball wasn't really appropriate for this, but it always makes me think of that, is you've got to go and talk to the users. You have to sit down with the SMEs and find out, what are you using now? What do you need? If you just get Power BI reports and you export them to Excel, what are you doing with them after that? If you're using them if you're doing that so that you can then figure out that one thing that you need to know, well, I'm going to give you that one thing that you need to know so that you don't have to do that unless you want to do that. There's going to be accountants, they're always going to want to download the details and have just pages and pages of numbers. And that's just a part of the shebang. It's how they are. But the idea is that you can give them those numbers that are important to the organization, that are important to them, that they have to take to that meeting at the executives. And those numbers are correct, and that you've spent enough time talking to them so that it's in the right order and it's what they need. And that sounds easy, but those people can be very, very busy. Just be persistent.
Yeah, it's not, that's why I asked you that question, because I haven't found a good answer yet. I mean, it's just one of those things it's hard to get that, it's hard to put enough time in order to make it work so that they're not going to do exactly what you said, which is to take your Power BI report and to download to Excel, so then they can do what they really want to do with it.
Oh, absolutely. And one thing that I do when I'm not getting good answers is I'll send them a list of questions. And I'll say, hey, here's some things I'd like to know about how you want this. And sometimes that gets ignored. I mean, let's be honest, it's going to get ignored some of the time, but sometimes it sparks their interest and they realize that they can have, more than a pie chart on a page, that maybe they can get some of the information they need. And you might be able to start engaging with them then. You're going to say something?
Robin,
Yes, Paul.
and it partially in answer to your question, Mike, Reed Havens did a presentation at the past summit this past November, and he put together an Office form or Microsoft form with a structured list of questions.
Absolutely,
around
great.
report design. And I know he shared that in his presentation. He might share it through his website. If for those who didn't attend, who don't have access to the recording, it was a really good presentation about how to gather requirements for report design.
Paul, that's amazing, and Reed is amazing. So I'm going to go get that for myself. Thank you.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea, though.
Yeah, it really does. Well, I find it works for me, but I don't have something that's that structured, but I think I will after this call. So.
And I think he actually took a lot of it from the Data Goblin site, from Kurt.
Yeah.
I forget Kurt's last name, the German last name. But yeah, go to Data Goblins. So,
yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, again, awesome. Thanks, Paul. I appreciate that. Just a few visually amazing sites that I'm just going to point out. The Big Book of Dashboards, which is not all Power BI. It's actually everything. There's Tableau there, there's Excel there, there's anything you could do. But it's a really, and I hate calling reports dashboards, so I had to kind of bite my tongue and do that a few times in this presentation. But and I know it's a thing with Paul too. But that's a really great site to look at. Carrie Kolosko, if you haven't seen her site, you've got to go see her site. She does visualizations that blow your mind. They're not necessarily great business visualizations. She can do great business visualizations, but she's done things like on the amount of rainfall, where it shows the raindrops coming down to represent the numbers. Just beautiful, beautiful visualizations. And How to Power BI is my favorite YouTube besides Guy in a Cube, but you all know Guy in a Cube. I didn't have to put that there. Boz, is it Boz? I think it's Boz. He just is so inventive with his visualization techniques. Does really cool, very short videos that show you how to do things. And he also has a site that you can go and download things from if you join. So great, great resource. And with that, that's the end of this slide, and I will show you a report. If I can pull it up. Okay, so this is the Balloon Bazaar Emporium. It is a data set that I created as a Microsoft Fabric data warehouse, entirely using ChatGPT to create all the records. There's a couple million records in here. It's been really fun. Everything on here, the visualizations you're seeing, the graphics you're seeing, everything was created with AI, but that's not really the important thing today. I used it for the DNEB video that I did during SQL Saturday as well, but this is not the same report. So financial reporting in Power BI, we talked a lot about being clear, getting interesting, easy to see numbers that point right away to how you're doing. This is the new card visual that we're looking at here. It's really cool. This is all three of these cards and all these numbers on them are one visual. If you haven't played with it yet, I really recommend playing with it. It's so much fun. You can use emojis, you can use little graphics, you can use SVGs. You can do things with visualizations now that you could not do at all, even just 6 months ago. And that's even going to get better over the next few months. I've done a few things here without digging too much into the data. Here's, for instance, an example of a chart where I want to look at different types of sales because I'm a sales organization in this case. Here I am looking at sales events. There was none this month. And as you can see, everything's just very fast and very fluid. Cards that had this much data on them even a year ago would be much slower. So that's kind of cool. There's a new thing where you can use buttons to do page navigation now. This is really cool as well, in my opinion. So I'm going to show you going through kind of some of the different things you can do to be, and this would not be what I consider a great report for visualizations because I'm really just showing you a bunch of techniques. But you can take some of these back and think about how would they work for my organization. So here's a simple bar chart. One thing I've done here is I've gone ahead and made sure that because I'm doing all sorts of crazy things here, I've put a subtitle in, which is also a new thing in the past 6 months, that's giving me a label that tells me everything I'm looking at. So if I change something, it'll immediately show that I've changed what I'm looking at. It's very easy if I want to take this graphic to a board meeting or something. It's just a bar chart, it's nothing special, but it's a good way to show your data when you're trying to differentiate a lot of different metrics in one chart. Now this is kind of cool. This is not DNEB. This is a Power BI matrix, but it looks kind of like Deneb. And you're able to look at these visuals, and I didn't put tooltips in. You can put tooltips over this and you don't see the data here. This is what's actually in there is SVGs that are running these. And when you get this, if you want to download this report, when I put it on the Omnidata website, you're welcome to download it. It does have the SVG code that you can look at, and you can adapt it to your own files. So you can do cool things like this too. And I got this from Andrej, who is, he just keeps publishing the most amazing things. And I've also found that if you're ever interested in asking him about some of these things, he's very responsive. Just a really nice guy. And again, it's responsive to the, I can change what I'm looking at here instantly. Just great performance.
So Robin, this is not Andrej's like proprietary type of visual.
No. This is a Power BI matrix. This is just a
Okay,
standard.
even with the deltas.
If the deltas, no, there's nothing in here that's proprietary for him. He's published this on his site for anyone to look at and download and use. There's a couple other instances of it out on the internet that you can find. People are just discovering this.
So I remember
yeah.
that Brian Grant did a presentation at RSQL Saturday a few years ago. I think it was just pre-pandemic, so it may have been 2018. And on how to use SVG graphics in Power BI. And the mechanics of this, and I mean, if you hover, you can actually see the SVG definition. So it's, you create a measure that produces that tag, that set of instructions, which is
let
markup.
me see if I have it. I might have the file actually open. Oops, not that. Hold on a second. I'm seeing if I can pull the file up to show you guys. So, can you guys see that?
No. Oh yeah, we see the field list.
Like, here's some SVG code.
Yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted, but there's
No.
some good stuff out there that you can copy and paste.
Yeah, it's not hard. I mean, you can copy paste this, and if you look at it, you're checking to see, okay, does what and the reason for this has one value is I wanted to have a total that was different at the bottom. Because that's how he did it, and I thought, oh, that's cool. I want to do it that way too. You can use normal or bold based on if it's the total or the, but it's very, I mean, these measures are not terribly complex. They're just normal measures. And then I also created these icon measures that are just using, I think I got these from How to Power BI, these ones. Like I said, if you know me, you know I'm constantly watching videos and reading blogs. It's just my thing.
Robin, I saw something else done with an SVG graphic that I didn't even know was possible. I spent some time in November with Treb Gott, who's he's an Office and Dynamics MVP in the Seattle area, and he's really good with visualizations. He has some examples that he's submitted to the visuals gallery on the community site. And he showed me a report, and it's just showing me composition and just kind of visual design. He always creates themes for all of his customers.
Right.
But this particular report had a very subtle background that was moving. It was like these ribbons that it was an animation that was slowly moving. And I said, how did you do that? Was it an animated GIF? And he said, no, it's an SVG, and you can use an SVG file as a canvas background.
Yeah,
I've never
you can.
seen that done before.
That's something else I found on the How to Power BI channel.
Okay.
Again, he does so many amazing things there. But yeah, I love, and as you can see, I'm very into having a really nice looking template for each one of my files. I think it's nice looking.
It's nice.
But yeah. And I did include one denim in here because I just wanted to show Deneb is still kind of a little bit out ahead. And this is just Andrus. This is not me. This is him. I made sure that I have him there. I just made a few changes to make it my own and then published it. I just want to make sure that everyone understands I'm giving him full credit for this. And again, another thing you can do is have the title that shows what you're just displaying. It just can be very helpful in these kinds of things where you've got so much going on. And now in this is just another example of a simple matrix that's using the same I keep calling it technology. It's not really technology, it's just SVGs. But I've included a field parameter with it. So I can swap back and forth between different rows. And this is one of the things when I talk about digging into your data. If I'm a salesperson, I might want to know, how is the channel doing? Oh, okay. What items are we selling the most of? What are we selling the least of? And also, before I forget, Paul, the way to get rid of these SVG notations is you make a page tooltip and just assign that as your tooltip. And I usually put the actual numbers for PY and PY percent or whatever it is you're looking at. And it totally replaces this data image stuff. But I wanted to show this for this purpose. And then, Paul, you're going to recognize this technique. I still do it. I first did this with Paul back in I want to say 2018 we did this. And it's the idea that you can take your numbers, look at the same numbers, but compare them between two different metrics so you can see, oh no, I sold a lot of ribbons. Why? Oh, here's the ones I sold and here's why. And you can see the change in, So the idea here, and this is something I think you'll agree, Paul, executives love this kind of thing when they can, and these are the new buttons, by the way. This is the new button. These aren't like.
So is this the technique where you've overloaded the fact table? You have different versions of the same.
No, I no longer have to do that.
Okay.
This is just field parameters.
Mm-hmm.
Simple field parameters, and these are just slicers. These are the new button slicers.
Nice. Well, that's a whole lot more efficient because you don't have to have so much data.
Oh yeah, this is just, I didn't have to add anything to this. This is just button slicers with field parameters and just two identical matrices. Super simple. And that's the end of the file. Does anyone else have questions or comments or anything? I don't know if that's good or if everyone fell asleep while I was talking.
Oh, I think everyone's still awake. I've been getting messages from people about it. Yeah, people feel free to unmute and if you have any questions.
And when I said I like digging into details, and being interactive, this is kind of the stuff I do all the time. I'm a little insane about it. Probably too insane about it sometimes.
No, but this is important stuff.
Yeah.
That's what keeps them coming back.
Yeah.
It's a healthy form of OCD.
It is. One of my healthier forms of OCD. There's others. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to point out on this is that this is the new button navigation that I'm using here instead of, these aren't bookmarks. This is the button navigation. It's just so cool. So no more bookmarks. I'm done with bookmarks. And you can find that just by going to, let me show you guys if anyone hasn't seen that yet. You just go up to insert button navigator. You can do, you can still do a bookmark navigator, but now you can do the page navigator. When you click on it, you'll see you can actually show hidden pages or not show hidden pages. You can hide your tooltip pages or show them. And you can choose which ones you show. So it's kind of cool. And the other thing that's very, very cool about these is you can put graphics on them. So you don't have to even have, and I've seen some really cool ones done where it's just pictures of the pages you're going to and maybe a word or two that describes it. Everything has changed in Power BI visualizations in the last like 4 months, and more is coming. That's just insane.
Well, that's all due to Miguel Myers taking over the visualization team.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
He's just done some amazing things.
Well, yeah, and this just looks so fresh compared to some of the stuff I've seen recently. But anyway, so some comments from the chat. Someone is very much awake. Another fellow, Andrew, said the suggestions on clarity are great. I like the idea of reducing what's showing so what you want to communicate gets across. It's very topical to what I'm working on right now. And Andrew, feel free to chime in if you want to have a chat with about that. And then Richard said, how new are the buttons? Were they a December release?
I don't know. I noticed them in December. I don't know if that means they were there in December or before. Anyone? Paul, do you know?
Yeah, it's been a few months. I don't know when, but I'm thinking late summertime, fall-ish. Of course, we often see things when they're in preview, and in our minds that's when it was released. But
yeah,
everything goes through private preview, then public preview, and then GA. So I don't know when they were GA.
I wanted to point out something else. These three right here, these are slicers. This is a button slicer. This is not bookmarks. This is just a regular slicer with the new options that they have for slicers. It's insane. You can make them one-sided like this. You can make them two-sided like this. You can make them hexagons or circles or whatever you want. There's about a dozen choices. So
great presentation, Robin. Really enjoyed it. A quick question about the AI for the art. What website do you use to generate those?
Okay, so the balloon and the swirls were all done with the desktop Windows Copilot. Believe it or not. The only thing, and I just went in and I just kept changing the prompt until I got something I liked. I think for the balloon, I said, I need a logo of a balloon that's old timey and represents a company. And I want a ribbon on it. And that's what I ended up getting after, maybe 10, 15 tries. The one thing you can't do in Copilot is you can't get numbers or words put on it. Trying to go to, oh, there it is. So I had to, this balloon, these words, I actually had to go into Photoshop and add those. But everything the suckers here, the swirls on this, I just said, make me some old timey swirls. And this is actually two visuals that I just stuck one on top of another. There's another program I use called Figma, which I make all my backgrounds with. There's a free version that you can use. It's Figma. And you can lay out your reports so that you can make really nice, clean backgrounds. You can export them in a high definition so that they look nice when you're looking at them on the web. And as far as the AI for the everything, including just all the descriptions here and all the dimensions and even all the facts, everything that went into that data warehouse that you got all this data from was all from ChatGPT. I would say, write me a script that will create 2 million random rows that have X, Y, Z, and I would give it the very refined details until I got what I wanted. And then it would come up with just a SQL script that I would just then run in Fabric. It was super fast. I made this whole data warehouse in a day. And as you can see, it works. So now I want to really turn it into something bigger because it's really fun not to have to use AdventureWorks.
Yeah.
And I may do a video for the Omnidata site on how to do it so that other people can do the same thing if they want, because it wasn't hard.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, because I mean, you know, it's sad when the excitement is when a new version of AdventureWorks comes out. I mean,
Yeah,
it's, yeah,
exactly, right? Yeah.
yeah.
And I may even like,
So
I don't know, I think I might make the scripts available because obviously I'm not gonna like download that whole gigantic, data warehouse and give it out, but I might make the scripts available, which might be fun because they're all random scripts using random functions. So
Mhm.
everyone would have their own slightly different version.
No,
Which-
that's
Robin,
good. No,
I think that the reason that it won't put text on a graphic is because OpenAI is extremely cautious about not violating trademarks and copyrights.
Oh, yeah.
So last week, 'cause I use the Contoso DW database for a lot of my demos, and I wanted a new Contoso logo because I didn't like the theme and the background that I had. So I asked ChatGPT-4, which uses the DALL-E engine to produce graphics. I think that's what did this. To create a new Contoso, I said, create a logo for Contoso Corporation. And what it would do is it would actually put text in the logo, but it would purposely misspell words
Yes.
like corporation. Like
It's
it'd be
so
like
annoying.
cooperation with two O's. Yeah, so you
Yeah,
can put text on it. It'll just make a point to misspell things.
And matter of fact, if you don't tell it not to put text on, it will do that, Paul. You have to purposely say, do not use text.
Ah, okay.
So that's all the tricks to ChatGPT and Copilot that I've been learning.
Well, Microsoft has a lot of lawyers, so they're a little adverse to, being sued. Of course, they own
Speaking of Copilot,
Contoso, so.
yeah, I don't know if everyone is aware, and it's not inexpensive. It's like $20 a month, I think, but you can get personal Copilot now, as of yesterday. And that's not for, unfortunately, it's not for Fabric. But if you're using Word, Outlook, PowerPoint, just making like visual stuff, it's like $20 a month to get that. So if you can get your employer to pay for that, that could be fun.
and it's probably
Copilot
cheaper
in
than paying for a
Fabric.
program.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and if you consider the amount of time you might save writing like a blog post or something for the company, it could be really worth it.
Mhm.
Just gonna
Yeah, I would
mention
just,
that if you want to use Copilot in Fabric, you have to have an F64 capacity,
yes.
which starts at about $6,000 a month.
Yeah, I have a lot of clients who really wish they had that and will never have that. So every time we have a meeting, I don't know if you've noticed, Paul, every week when we have our engineers meeting, I always try and bring that up. And I always get ignored.
Well, they have to keep their stock prices up.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my presentation.
Oh,
I appreciate everyone coming.
thank you for presenting.
Thanks.
So are we going to see you next month in February?
Yeah, you'll see me with either pizza or tacos or something. I'll be there as Omnidata rep then instead of
Perfect.
presenting.
We'll hook you up. Let's see. Let me double check on the date. I think it's the 21st, but yep. So February 21st, and we have our presenter has verified it's going to be on Azure Arc. So that should be pretty interesting. It will be a remote presentation, but we'll still be downtown Vancouver at the community room at Umpqua Bank. And we will have whatever tasty food that Robin picks up on her way in. So we'll come up with something good. And I think that's about it. We've already started planning for SQL Saturday this year. We'll get some more details going on that. If people are interested in volunteering, there's always room for volunteers. We definitely would like some help on different departments. And I don't know, anything else? Paul, Will, Jess?
I can't think of anything right now. I think that pretty much sums everything up.
Okay. Well,
Nothing
everyone
from
stay
here.
safe.
Just great presentation.
Yeah, that was nice.
It was fun.
That was fun.
I just want
Thank
to
you,
thank
Robin.
everybody Sorry, thank everybody for showing up today, and I hope everybody stays safe.
Yeah, don't go outside until it melts.
Yeah. I was so relieved when you guys said we were doing this virtually.
Yeah, no, I know. I was worried about it too. So, and thank you everyone for posting your information in the chat. Also, I had a message from Charles here. We do record these presentations, but we're not particularly good at posting it. If someone likes to do that, I'd sure like to find someone who'd be willing to post those things. We even have a YouTube channel, which is sadly laying dusty for a long time, but it would be great to have someone who'd be interested in doing that.
Mike, I can take that on.
Well-
I may need to reset my password in our
Okay.
Teams tenant, but no, I
But
can do
Paul, I'm trying to encourage other people to volunteer to work with the group.
that. Oh, I see.
Oh, your
Okay, yes,
password is ChatGPT 123 exclamation mark hashtag.
right.
Right.
Yeah, thank you. No, it's P@SSW. No,
Right. Yeah.
thanks, Carol.
Well,
Appreciate that.
If you need help with anything, I'm happy to help. I'm also happy to try to pull other students into it too that are more wildly better than me at social media stuff, because I know that I am very bad at that.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing, Charles, is I'm glad to see you here because that was great. You all did a great job at volunteering. Appreciated that. You kept up with Will, which is quite a challenge because the man can just run and run and run. But whatever, reach out to us directly. You have our email addresses and such like that. What can we do to keep the students interested? Because I would love to. I can't remember how many years ago it was, back when we did Single Saturday at Washington at WSU Vancouver, but we had a special track just devoted to students, and it would be nice to do something like that again too. So please reach out to us so we can get that going again.
Yeah, cool. I'll definitely set up a meeting for that if you guys are interested, because I tried getting students here even tonight, so I'm going to keep trying to pull teeth.
Okay, that sounds good. And we'll bring pizza, not Omnidata pizza. We'll bring other pizza. So
pizza and pliers, that's what you're gonna need.
Yeah, pizza and
Pizza
pliers.
and
That
talk
sounds
them
good.
in, pliers in order to get them to talk.
Right, perfect. Yeah, because we'd love to have speakers too. This year I'm going to try once again. A couple of years ago we did in June or July, we did like a kind of a potluck where it was for new speakers, and we had 15-20 minute. Everyone just did like 15-20 minute presentations. So lots of opportunities there. Anyway, so I thank you everyone for coming. Please stay warm. Hopefully everyone has food and everything like that and hasn't have any issues. My kitchen sink is frozen, but hopefully it'll melt tomorrow. Or the pipes leading to it, but everything else is working. So I've just been washing dishes in the laundry sink. It works fine. That's it. So thank you again, and see you on the 21st. And keep an eye on the ODC website and Meetup and all the other ways that we send out information.
Yeah,
So
and Robin, thank you. The presentation was beautiful. The Power BI looked beautiful. It was awesome to see somebody else's structure. It looked great.
Thank you. And like I said, Michael, if you can help me when I get the URL that they can download this stuff from, I will be happy to pass it along.
Okay. Yeah, if you just want to send me the URL, I can post that on the website. That part I'm just fine with, and I probably could figure out how to do the YouTube thing too myself, but I've got lots of other things to do too. So if someone else would like to help out, that'd be great.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm a little busy this week, so probably won't be till next week, but it will be available. I promise.
Yeah, tell me what to do and tag me in, and I'll help where I can.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Robin.
Okay. Nice job, Robin.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
I think
See ya.
you guys have a great evening.
Thank you.
Bye, Jess.
You too.